If you have ever felt that you are too many things at once, that you need to fit into one neat box, or that your spiritual or intuitive side has to stay hidden to be taken seriously, then this conversation is for you. Plus, my special guest, Nikki Joshi, even has a very special channeled message for us at the end of this episode to help us connect with our next chapter. Welcome to the Soulful Sales Show, where we talk about believing in the value of your offers, getting them in front of your right people, and selling more of what you do in your unique way. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Soulful Sales Show. So today I am chatting with Nikki Joshi, who is a soul purpose coach, intuitive guide, and corporate strategy consultant, all about owning who you really are and navigating a non-linear path in business and in life, especially as a high achiever. This is an extra special episode because at the end, Nikki channeled a really special message for us, which I really loved. So stick around to experience that. And let me tell you a bit more about Nikki. So like I said, she is a soul purpose coach, intuitive guide, and corporate strategy consultant. She guides sensitive high achievers, healers, and empaths to reconnect with their intuition and unlock their soul magic, which also happens to be the name of her podcast. Through Akashic Records, human design, astrology, guided rituals, parts work, and trauma-informed coaching, she offers gentle pathways to healing and purpose. Her work blends the mystical and the practical, rooted in her own journey as a burnt-out immigrant working mum who rediscovered her gifts through deep healing and playful curiosity. This conversation really took us down an interesting path. We talked about owning all parts of ourselves, especially as sensitive and neurodivergent humans who have tried and failed to put ourselves in a box that we thought we needed to put ourselves in. So if you have ever felt that you are too many things at once and that you needed to fit into that box, then this is the conversation for you. So welcome to the podcast, Nikki. I want to start by asking you, and you feel free to interpret this question however works for you, but can you share with us about how your business has unfolded in what you describe as a non-linear way?
Ooh. Yes, I think it would be helpful to give context on why I'm attached to linear in the first place, and then go
Mhm.
into the non-linear part, which is um, I grew up in an environment. I'm of Indian origin, so academic excellence was such a huge value. And okay, you study, you get the good grades, you achieve, you graduate, you do the degrees, and that's how I approach life. And then I got this consulting job right out of college, and I was like, oh great, you work hard, you get more responsibility, you get a promotion, and you grow through the organization. Like, a consulting organization is so similarly set up for all the academic overachievers to just keep living in that same way. And then I hit this point, it's been now like 6 7 years ago, where I started to feel like, well, I think I've hit a sort of pinnacle. I've achieved a lot of things in my career, and I'm not happy. Like, I'm not deeply soul satisfied. Yes, I have all the check marks in terms of family, home, job, achieving a lot there, high visibility, meeting a lot of senior people. And yet I was just like, what is the point of all of this?
Mm.
And I think I became most disillusioned when I um, met with some very senior leaders in a company, only to realize, like, wow, I don't know if they have figured out themselves and their life, and they're looking just as confused, if not more confused than me. And I was like, okay, I need to find something else. And that's what took me to this, what has ended up being non-linear path of, okay, if it's not this consulting job in healthcare, then what could it be? And I started to explore coaching, because coaching was this thing I would do as part of work. I had to mentor and coach my teams. I would mentor and coach people as part of another title I had. I'm like, let's try this. Okay, this could be a thing. I go on to do, as I think many of us all have done, like, oh, let's experiment. Let's do a bunch of courses around it. Let's build these skills. And I tested and tried things, and it was this fun experimentation place. And this is, through COVID and the pandemic, and we were all online. So it was a great time to be in that phase. And I started to offer coaching services. I did like beta testing clients and people I knew, and it was going really well. But I was really having a hard time with, okay, and offering it to be paid. And then I started to do so many other courses just for fun because I just got in the swing of, oh my God, all these online courses are so fun, which then led me to, and this is like one part of the non-linearity is the number of pivots I made in terms of what
Mm.
I put in my business is I went from coaching into more of what I would call the healing arts. Um, and it started out with doing an Akashic record course, which, if you're not familiar, is really connecting to the energy of our soul, our soul's history. It connects to a lot of past lives, your intentions and plan for this life. There are soul contracts and more. And I just did this course with someone who was in a business course, and just hearing her, I'm like, I would love to do this, early run of this course. It's cheap and accessible for me. I don't have to debate it with my husband. Let's try it. And I did it. And I didn't actually end up reading the Akashic records during that course, but I did a lot of meditating, and it was fun for me. And I was like, oh, I want to do more of this. So I found another and another. It eventually led me to start offering these channel sessions for clients. And that's when I started to get my first few paid clients. Oh my God, this is so fun. And back to the other aspect of non-linearity, there are many dimensions to this is I did my first few, I would call them readings at the time. They were very channel sessions where people would bring questions and here's what's coming up energetically. And I remember so distinctly, like I did this session for a client, and um, I personally didn't feel like it went as well as it could have. It was like at that point, what had been enough clues for me to lean into this, even in a short period of time, is when I would channel, it's like, oh my God, I got all this. Like I would have paid for myself for that session. It was just so fun for me. I could feel the energy and the goodness of leaning into this. And yet, when I did this client session, I had all this doubt come up like, I don't know if I really answered her question. Did I give her enough? And there were all these visuals. And like looking back now as a much more experienced intuitive, I can see that some of it is the energy of the client coming in, and they may not be ready to receive, or they have some internal things they need to shift before they receive more around it. And I didn't know all that at the time. I made it mean that something's wrong with me. And then I was like, oh God. And then I just shut down. And this was a pattern I would keep going into at different levels of up leveling. And I'm sure many of us can relate to this. Okay, I tried something, it was very stretchy. It didn't go quite as planned. Okay, contract and hide and cocoon and be in the shell. And so that's another aspect of non-linearity in my path that I wanted to touch on, because it has taken a lot of practice to overcome points like that. But I'll pause. Would love to hear if you have more questions on that or want to take us
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say that you're going to give us a special channeled message at the end of this podcast. So listeners, please stay tuned. And I'm really looking forward to that. Okay. So this non-linearity, like figuring out what it is that you want after reaching a certain level of success, but thinking, like, I think I want something else and I want, or potentially want to explore something else. And then going on this journey of like, okay, let me try this, let me try this. And of course, all of the doubts that that brings up along the way. I'm really curious as to how was this experience for you? And especially exploring this side and the channeling and the Akashic records alongside doing your job, right? Like,
Yeah.
and especially when you said you had reached a point of success with your job and then to become a beginner, would it be right to describe you at
Very
that time?
accurate.
You started from scratch again. How was that navigating those two sides to yourself?
Very, very hard.
Mm.
It I love how you named it. Like one big aspect of it is being a beginner, which I love the learning aspect of it. So you get to do these courses and practice. But it's also very hard when um like I have come to identify myself as having ADHD tendencies. I've definitely identified as an empath and a sensitive person, and they just like I've learned to mask a lot of these things to survive my day job, which is very intense and busy and logical and high achieving oriented. And then in my business, I'm like, let's remove all these layers and be my most authentic, true self. And but then you learn, oh, there are still a lot of beliefs and stories in there that you didn't quite examine. And I was very attached to my high achieving identity, something that was built over time. And when I wouldn't reach that level of big success in my business, is definitely what also would lead to those moments of shutdown and contraction, like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And why is my business failing me? And all these things would come up. So, yeah, it was hard. I think that's one aspect of the being a beginner and being a high achiever and having to hold the energy of both identities at the same time. I think the other part was holding identities of being very logical and intellectual and analytical in my job and knowing that I'm good at that. And then knowing that I'm very intuitive and magical and can work with energy and not quite knowing how to blend or connect those worlds. Like to me, they were like, oh, I can't talk about that stuff at work. And oh, in my business, I can't come across as being very like, oh, researchy and data oriented when I'm working with something that's very unseen. And I don't know what can come up sometimes as much as I've collected evidence for myself to trust it. So, yeah.
How have you navigated bringing aspects of one to the other? Because you sometimes when we are talking about a story like this, it goes, oh, I had this massive success in my job. I realized that there was something else that I wanted to explore. So I quit my job and I did that thing. But you are navigating two simultaneously, right? And have
Yes.
you found a way, or are you still in the process of bringing each world, like bringing together those worlds?
Yes. Yeah. This has very much come up in the last year in a bigger way. And I'm doing this blending of identities, if you call, with more intentionality than ever before. Um, I would keep them very separate. Like, here's my LinkedIn profile, here's my Instagram or YouTube profile, and no one, neither can talk to each other. They are very separate. And in now, as of late, I recently changed jobs, which was its own journey of navigating my business energy and then my job change. And um, I have started to practice bringing more of my magical self into my job by talking about it with coaches that exist in my workplace, to talk about it even with my manager. Like, here's something I do. And guess what? His spouse is also very much into all the things that I'm into. And of course, like, thank you for universe for making that happen. Like, I've been finding, not in this big way I'm going to go up on a stage and share all this about me, but in the right places, letting people see that aspect of me makes such a big difference in my energy because I feel more seen. I don't feel like I'm hiding this big aspect of me that's just sitting in the back seat and like then I'm going into pretending. I, I have to name that. It's so energy draining when you separate these parts of yourself. And I
Yeah.
feel like I had like suppressed and not acknowledged the magical, the intuitive part of me for so long. I would let it out in terms of, I'll make the slide so lovely in this presentation and like in terms of creativity and art, but to really allow it to be like, we're all swimming together, all these identities, and everyone can see everything has been an experience and a practice.
Oh yeah. And you know what? I'm not in the same position as you in terms of like having the job and the business and side by side, but I absolutely relate to what you're saying. I've also had many clients,
Mm.
several clients say to me, I really want to talk about more spiritual stuff in my business or more intuitive stuff, but I'm really scared that people aren't going to take me seriously. But I actually really am into that stuff, but I'm not showing it whatsoever. And, I felt this way in my own business. And I had a business before this one where I didn't really have, it didn't show my personality in it very deliberately because of self-doubt and fear and all of that stuff. But you said about the energetic drain, like it is such a drain. Like there are always reasons why we are keeping them separate to keep ourselves safe, and it makes sense and it's a protective thing, but it is such a drain as well. And like your example with your colleague's wife, or was it your boss or your colleague? Like, isn't that amazing? And if you hadn't opened up, you never, like, they wouldn't have opened up back to you and you wouldn't have discovered what you had in common and how that then gets to be an influence in each of your lives as well.
Yeah.
Um, so I really love that. And you also mentioned your ADHD tendencies. And I'd really love to touch on that because I think a lot of people who either have been diagnosed or they know they have tendencies, maybe undiagnosed, which is a lot of people in my world, will also relate to this idea that you kind of are many things at once, but you feel like you should put yourself in a box. I feel like that is actually very strongly related. But also, in the day-to-day sense, like how are you handling it? Like navigate, and you have your family as well as your job and your business. It's a lot. So can you share a bit more about how you take care of yourself with all of this stuff going on?
That does take energy to navigate this 3D and very linear world. Like, I feel like a lot of us with these ADHD tendencies have a lot of energetic gifts. It's like
Mm.
what can be considered as, oh, you're easily distractible or you float. And I had all these judgments thrown at me as a kid. Like I would float at a moment's notice. And I think it lends itself to so many gifts. I want to name the gifts before I get to the, okay, and how do I
Love that.
navigate it?
Yeah.
Which is like, I think that's where this intuitive side of me was hidden and like, okay, well, I don't have a space to take up space. So I'm just going to show up when you give me a break. And like, I can just float away and be anywhere and come up with a poem or some art or paint. Like, that's how it would show up for me. And like, you give me something very ambiguous at work. I feel like that's the part of me that would show up is to try and like distill and like, what are all the many ways? I feel like our energies can go in so many different directions. And that's such a cool thing. But when I have to focus, concentrate, and like, do step one, step two, step three. It's like most of me just wants to like leap out of my body and go somewhere else, is how it feels like. So I can't change how I operate internally, which can feel chaotic and distracted. And like, I want to think about 100 things at once. And no matter how much I meditate and ground, that doesn't change in this huge way. I think changing my environment has been the best approach. And it's like, okay, creating calm spaces, creating rituals for myself that help me focus. And like examples would be I've been in many body doubling spaces over the years. When I need to get business work done, I'll dial into that Zoom room. I like using the Sukha app. It's this app where you can write your task list, you can put certain music. There's an AI coach in there every so often talking to you for the Pomodoro time you're in there, like, you got this, you can do this. And it just helps so much for my brain to like, oh, okay, I can do this. Um, and I also get a lot of help sometimes just organizing, putting my stuff away, cleaning is very hard. And this is
Mhm.
why I still have my day job is to fund those things so I can keep my life going.
Yeah. And do you find that the way that you take care of yourself at your day job, like, do you have the same, does it work the same with the strategies you need to thrive in your day job and your business, or is it different?
It is, let's see, I think it's I the biggest thing is like how can I add and source more dopamine when I'm doing things? And it's interesting, I've realized over time, in fact, talking with you, Ruth, through the VIP container of the Soulful Sales Society, has been this recognition of, oh, I get a lot of dopamine from connecting deeply with people. I get so much
Mm.
of that in my day job with a lot of people and meetings and connections. And while that can be stressful for the introvert empath me as well, and I have to deeply disconnect, it's when I don't have that as much in my business. It's like, oh, well, how do I do this? Okay, how will I sit for this um, financial like mapping out exercise, and just having a coach there to talk to brings that dopamine for me. So at work actually I have plenty of dopamine to source, and all I need to do is add some checklists and some good music and I can kind of make it. Business has been harder and I've been figuring it out.
I love that you're sharing all of this because what's coming to my mind as you're speaking is really honoring all of the different sides of ourselves and the way that you thrive at work is might be different to the way that you thrive in your business, and because the nature of the work is different and the environment around you is different, and it's honoring all sides of that. And you know, speaking of honoring all of your different sides, there's also this self-doubt piece that's come in through, this overachiever and identity of success, and then going in with as a beginner into business, and also being, I guess, more directly responsible, like when you're working one-on-one with people and selling your offers. How do you navigate that side of things? And especially as a sensitive empath?
It has, I think, like I've been saying, underneath it all, it is hard. And I think the hardest part, you started to name this here in terms of the beginner and like this deep, direct personal connection. I think for me, the harder part was like, if this is my, I can feel this energy of this is what I'm called to do. This is so connected to who I am at my core. And it's very high stakes as a result. It's almost like if I can't make this work, then what's the point of all of this? And
Mm.
that's a very, like every time when I would back to that energy of expand contract that I've felt, if something didn't work, I made it mean like it felt very deeply traumatic because I think for such a long part of my life, I didn't even see these parts of me and I didn't give it space. And now that I'm giving it space, these parts are like, we need to be there and expand and be present and be seen and be received. And when it doesn't happen, it feels like a failure, but a failure in such a big way. Like, my God, can I do this? How will I do this? Do I still have to be in a job which doesn't allow me to express all of this in a big way? I don't know if I'm fully answering your question, but that's what I felt called to name is that. And I actually just also want to name how much I love this is also me, ADHD tendencies. I've kind of branched away from the question, talking about a few different things that are coming up. But I like really love that you're naming this aspect of all our parts and how do we bring all our parts to along this journey of business of life, because it's a big part of my work, it's a big part of who I am. And why I want to say that is my given name is Nikhila. I go by Nikki for short in my business, and in Sanskrit Nikhila means whole or complete, like we
Mm.
bring all our parts together. And to me it's such a whole soul sign of I think this is what I was meant to do. And so I'm just loving this conversation. That's all that I'm saying.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. Yeah, it's definitely making me reflect on how, everyone listening has their own different life circumstances and different things they're working on, but I think we can all relate to this struggle of some of our parts wanting to be seen, but us not wanting to acknowledge them for whatever reason, or thinking we need to be different. And what's really coming up for me is just it's a journey, even learning to see them and acknowledge them and learn what they actually need from us. But it's so, so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get to that extra special channeled message for everyone listening, I'm just going to ask you a few quickfire questions that I ask every guest. The first one being, beyond financial success, what impact do you hope to have in the world through your work? And that can be your job or your business and or whatever feels right for
Oh,
you.
I would love for all the sensitives and empaths and, people who feel a lot and connect to so much energy to remind them to trust their power and magic, like to trust again, like we have been talking about. I have been this introverted, sensitive, I can't take up space at work and I struggle to, like, oh, there's a lot of tension in the room, I can't speak up. And I've learned to trust that, oh, there is magic there for me, like I can feel what people are feeling. And this is the impact I'd love to have, is if people can reclaim those parts of themselves and own their power. And if power feels like too big of a word, own their magic. And that's what my podcast is called. It's called Unlock Your Soul Magic, because that's been
Mm.
my own personal journey of connecting to your intuition, your inner knowing. We have this power within us, and whatever the world may project onto you or make you feel, you can always come back to that center.
I love that. Question two is, if you could give a message of encouragement to past you earlier in your business journey, what would that be?
I would say it's reminding her of the power of a clear intention and a very strong decision. That's what got me here. And I think that's what will take me to my future self, is making very clear. And I know, Ruth, you and I have talked about 100% decisions. I love that you talk about that. And I know every time I've made a shift, it's like I got clear, I set an intention, I made a decision. Not everything came true the way I intended, but that was a clear, energetic, like switch flip, if you will.
I love that, and such an important reminder that, yeah, not everything went the way you intended, but it was an energetic switch. I love that, and I totally agree. And finally, what does soulful selling mean to you?
Um, oh, as someone who's on the journey of embracing selling as soulful and can be so connected, I think it's making invitations. It's almost like you set this path in front of you and people can come without this. I have to grab you and like drag you in. I think it's setting a clear path for people to walk. And that journey itself, even if they don't open the door and enter your business, may that path, which is lit up and golden, feel transformative and educational. To me, that would be soulful selling.
Beautiful. Okay, so thank you so much for everything you have shared, Nikki. Like, it's been a beautiful conversation, and I'm really excited that you have so generously offered to give us a channeled message. So I will leave it to you to take it away. And everyone, I hope that you hear whatever it is that you need today.
Thank you so much, Ruth. I love this invitation. This is what gets me so excited in my days. I get to do this channeling, and I don't know exactly what will come through, but I do trust that whatever comes through, it will possibly be in the form of a visual I describe or a message that I just say. Um, I would invite you to receive that and see how you might connect it to your business or life. And I will be doing the same too as I'm channeling it. So with that, if you're in a place to, I invite everyone listening to either close your eyes or just have a soft, gentle gaze so that you can start to tune your attention more inward. We're so busy in our lives looking outwards, connecting with people, ideas, projects, and more that it's so precious to take this time out for ourselves and receive. So may this be a time for you to close your eyes and focus your attention and inner gaze into your heart space. This beautiful heart space of yours is this chamber of love, of soul, of receiving. Whatever words work for you, receive that. And just feeling your heart space glow. Imagining light. Maybe it's your aura. Maybe it's you igniting a flame. However, this energy shows up for you, trust that and allow for that to be present and true. If it feels like you're imagining or making things up, that can be so fun too. So allow for yourself to play with that as you feel the energy of your heart space. Taking a deep breath here in through your nose and out through your mouth, breathing into your heart. We'll take a moment to connect deeply into the earth and up into the sky, just creating this energetic connection that helps us receive. Whenever you're ready to, taking your focus and attention to your feet and feeling the soles of your feet start to have these energetic beams of light, almost like as if your feet had these flashlights that were reaching deep into the earth. And it feels as if your energy, your presence, and your light is meeting the center of the earth. The earth is so grounding and protective and supportive. And so, through these beams of light, allowing yourself to receive the energy of the earth. Trust that your body is intelligent and will receive what it needs. And so, feeling the energy of the earth start to surround you like this protective, supportive cocoon, rising up through your feet and all the way around your body, up into your crown, and then reaching up into the sky, where this energy of the earth travels through and around you, and connects with the cosmos, the stars, the energy beyond, the energy of what is unseen, but the energy of love and trust that exists all around that we can reach. Allowing yourself to receive magic and hope and vitality. Whatever you might need, feel that energy come through as sparkles down from the sky in through your crown, and feeling, maybe even hearing or sensing these energetic sparkles that lift you up and energize you. They pour all throughout your energy body, from your head and neck and torso, through your legs and feet. Breathing deeply again as you practice this art of receiving together. And so, with that, I'll take a moment to tune into any messages, anything we need to receive, anything that is for a highest good, as this collective listening here across whatever time you might be tuning in. So, I'll start to describe what I'm seeing or feeling. As I made that invitation, I saw a door open, and this is the fun part of we'll see where this goes and who knows what will happen. And you're more than welcome to receive this message with your eyes closed or gently open, whatever feels good for you. What's striking to me about this visual is the emphasis on the door, and that it looks kind of dark and I can't quite see around the door, even leading up to the door or beyond the door. And I'm curious about that. Like, what does that mean? And I'm inviting in the energy I connect with. I call them guides, but you're welcome to replace that term with the unseen power you work with or you trust in, such that you can receive this message too. I can start to hear and feel my guides talk, so I'm going to allow them in. You all seem to seek and you all seem to look for this next step, this next level. It's like, once I can step through this door, everything will be better, everything will be good, and it will all be even more expanded and wonderful. Like, you have these wishes, these intentions, and they are so good. They're so beautiful, because this is where you as a soul in a human body want to trust and allow and expand each and every time. This is what you came here to do, and this is what you are here for. But also know and recognize that you as a powerful being, that it's not easy to know what could be on the other side. And this is but the mystery of life. Like, when you look at this door and the door frame, it is you trusting and creating this intention of, when I'm calling this next step in, this next level, whatever it might be, in business, in life, in love, in health, but this next step, it's you creating this door that, all right, once I step through this door, something will be different on the other side. And we're showing you this door almost suspended in time and space, because it's you creating that. It is you setting that step up. And it looks unknown on this side as to how you would get there. It looks a little unknown as to exactly how it would look on the other side. And I'm just taking a moment to pause them and personally wonder, okay, what does that really mean? Like, how can we connect that to our day-to-day life, as much as we understand the mystery of the energy of this door and who we are before and after? And I'm giving them a moment to almost collect their thoughts and respond to me. Um, and as I'm looking at this door now that was suspended in the midst of what felt like nowhere, I saw this beautiful landscape emerge. It looks green, and like there's a blue sky and clouds. And like, all right, suddenly the visual changed. What does that mean for us all across this door, across this threshold almost? Um, they're sharing with us, I'm hearing, like, we want to impress upon you. We want to impress upon you this power of not only deciding that you are ready for this next step, but also deciding what would the other side of this next step look like. Because it's only when you allow for that to come through in your imagination is when not only will this door, this threshold that you can step through energetically appear for you and practically appear for you, but also this what could be so beautiful on the other side. So many of you are resisting and holding back from dreaming even bigger, even more. Oh, all of this is possible for me. Can I truly allow for that? And so you just think about the door. Here's my next step. Here's what I need to do. And yes, that is you powerfully imagining this threshold and this door you want to step through. But can you vividly, richly envision what is it that you want to feel on the other side of this door? What is it that you want to experience on the other side of this door? What is it that you want to receive? And what does that truly look like for you? You are allowed to think through and believe and imagine every single aspect of that. So don't hold yourself back and allow for that to come through for you. It is when you allow yourself to weave that rich tapestry of what this future could hold, is only then when we, your guides, your higher power, your unseen power, can step through and help you paint alongside this picture. Because you then meet us with what you wish for, and we can meet you with what we can pull together for you to receive. Can you allow for that? Can you allow for yourself to dream that big and imagine so vividly what is so possible and what it is that you can receive? And yes, we understand at the same time that things can be hard, dreams can feel like they have been crushed before. And so, how can I dream so big when that has not materialized for me before? And we ask you and we implore you to allow yourself to set aside those doubts, those fears, those worries, those past things that have felt like they held you back or crushed dreams, shattered dreams, to put those in a box and set them aside. For you as a powerful being can take energy and just like you would declutter a home and put things away in a box, in the same way you can put that aside and allow yourself to dream big and hope big and receive big again. This is the practice. This is the practice of receiving is you have to clear up space in order to receive. So can you allow for yourself to just remove one thing from the past to make space for the next thing from the future? Can you allow for that to be true for you? Can you allow for that possibility to be alive within you? Can you? Can you? Can you? All right. Just taking a moment as their energy is slowed down, and I can feel my talking has slowed down too, that they are complete with their message. And I just invite you to take a moment to acknowledge what all came up. Maybe there were memories or thoughts. Maybe there was resistance and even fear or worry of, can I really do this? I think the most powerful way to integrate these messages is just to acknowledge all that comes up. And if you feel called to, as we close out, to journal, to think and reflect, and perhaps note down one step to dream big from this conversation that we had. And with that, I invite you to just breathe again into your heart space. It is your shared energy that helps us all receive. So I thank you for pouring into this space of receiving with me too. And whenever you're ready, there is no rush. You're welcome to come back into this space and open your eyes if they've been closed.
I hope that you loved that beautiful message from Nikki. And if you want to find out more about Nikki and her work, you can get her free manifesting guide at the link in the show notes. You can find her on TikTok or listen to her podcast, Unlock Your Soul Magic, which is on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Soulful Sales. If you have a moment to rate and review, know that it really does make a difference. And if you would like to carry on the conversation, then you can connect with me in the free Soulful Sales community at ruthpoundwhite.com/community, or my personal favorite, join me inside the Soulful Sales Society membership at ruthpoundwhite.com/membership. And keep doing what you're doing because your work really does matter.